the app goes away, you just like store them somewhere so that when the app boots back up.
How did you get those snippets in your dash, by the way?
They're not showing for you?
No.
Oh. So you want to make sure that you have the guides and sample code.
Apple guides and samples.
Yeah, so it's in the guides and sample code. Okay, so you want to make sure that's either showing up in your search or, well, first of all, that it's installed, and secondly, that it's showing up in the search. Yeah. All right, so does everyone want to code along?
Yeah. Sorry, were we supposed to download something?
I don't know, my maximum key thing is died. I don't know what's going on. My keyboard is, I don't know, my tab key is not working right. I don't know what's going on here.
My multiple line commenting is broken. Next code.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
My tab key doesn't work. Like, so when I hit the tab key, it doesn't jump to the next token. It's just, I don't know what's causing that.
Sometimes
When you want to
just
comment
leave the
something.
file and then come back. Or sometimes for me, it's like let's go look at something, come back, and the cursor is there, but it's kind of disappeared. So I have to re-click.
Yeah.
But I don't like it's Xcode. It's complicated. So.
I had this massive problem where if I would hit this shortcut combo, suddenly Photoshop would open up. It was driving me absolutely nuts. And you know what it was? It was an application that I downloaded and had hijacked my shortcut keys. So you need to be careful. Like, yeah. All right, so single view application. So first of all, what we're going to do is, so core data demo. Let me just do week, what is it, week 4, day 3. All right, so what you want to do is make sure that you check the core data box.
We created it without checking it. Can we check it out there?
No, you can't check it after. You have to, you can add it manually, but yes, create another project. All right, so I'm going to save it to the desktop. Well, I'm not going to add Git because I'm going to stick it, I'll stick it in the existing repo and then I'll upload the existing repo. And so, yeah. All right, so what I want to do here is just make some notes on some things that I want to do. So I want to do, I want to demonstrate CRUD. So that's create, read or fetch, update, and delete. Now the fetch I want to do simple fetch. I want to do a sorted fetch, and I want to do a filtered fetch. All right, so the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to, because like I'm going to do this all in the app delegate, but you might go, oh, how do I get a hold of the context if I'm not in the delegate? And how do I do stuff? How do I hook it up? So what I'm going to do is after I demo this, I'm going to create a small application in which we're going to have a table view and we're going to have a view where we add some data and display it in the table view. So it's not going to use all of the fetching and stuff that we do here, but it'll give you, it'll add to the knowledge of how to like connect everything, how to connect the dots. So I don't want to just leave it kind of abstract, I'm just doing it in the app delegate. Okay, so we can actually, from line 59 up to line 37, we can just delete this stuff because we're not using it. And let's just clean up some of this, all these comments, all this crap. So there's a lot of stuff here in this persistent container. So let's remove that. You can read this if you want. It's just telling you about how to do error handling, or some, usually they just say, oh, you should do error handling, but they don't tell you how you might go about that. Anyway, but we're not worrying about error handling here. So what this is doing is persistent container is a property. So we can see that this is persistent container here, right? So so what is this?
Sorry?
So we have a property persistent container.
Well, it's like a lazy variable.
Okay, but it's overriding the setter, the getter, right?
Yeah.
It's overriding the getter. So when we call this thing, it's going to run this method, and basically this is a lazy initializer. Okay, so you're right. So it's a lazy initializer. It's going to see if underscore persistent container is nil, and if it's nil, it's going to initialize it with this this name here. Okay, and then it's going to load the store and whatever.
What does that
Okay.
mean? That's just what prints out.
The name of your project file.
It's the name of the project. Yeah, so it's actually going to load this file right here. Okay, so what we want to do is the first thing that we want to do is we're going to need to keep referring to the context, and to get the context, we need to actually talk to this persistent container. The persistent container has a property on it that is a managed object context right here. They're calling it view context as managed object context. So we're going to need to keep referring to that. So we might as well make a property to this thing. And the thing is that when we build our application, we may want to refer to it too. But you know what? I'm not going to expose it in the header. I'm going to show, just to show you how to get a hold of it from a view controller. So I'm just going to make this non-atomic, and this needs to be a NS managed object context, and I'm just going to call this context.
That's in the .m still, right?
I'm in .m of the app delegate.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to set that. So self.context equals self.persistentContainer.viewContext. Okay, so that's just a convenience. Otherwise, we would have to keep typing this long expression out, which is annoying. So when did finish launching with options calls self.persistentContainer, it's going to call the getter, and if it doesn't exist, it'll initialize it and assign it to that property, and then we'll get the view context on it. All right, so let's do self create data. So we're going to have to set some things up before we do this. So let's do core data stack. So this is all the core data stuff. You can see that they're calling this save context when just before the app will terminate. So that's like a little convenience they just add. So they have added a save method here, so we can use this, and you can see that it just gets a hold of the context. So we can actually, remove this line here, right? And we can just do self.context and self.context. Okay. We don't need to do that, but it just removes a line of code. All right, so let's do void and create data. So that's this method here on line 35. So now we need to set up our model. So we need to click on this XC data model file and click on this plus entity button. First of all, there's two views. There's this like editor view and there's this other view. Anyway, you need to actually have an entity for that to happen. So if I click on, it'll show just entity. You can just hit enter and rename this. So I'm just going to make a simple entity with 3 properties. Okay, so I'm just calling it person. You can see attributes here, and this is relationships and fetch property. So we'll be, using these relationships, but not today. So that's, if I want to, let's say, have a blog post that has a bunch of tags, I might have a relationship to a tag entity inside the blog post. So that kind of thing. All right, so I'm going to just do first name here. So this is an attribute called first name. And so we can select its type as string. And let me just open up this side panel. So if you select this thing, you can see that there are some settings over here. We can make this optional. I'm not going to make this optional. It's required. And there's a bunch of other things that we can set here. We can validate the length and so on. Okay? So all I'm doing is just unchecking optional. Last name and string. All right, and I'm just going to do age. And this is going to be I'm just going to make it a small integer, int 16. And that's also not optional. And last name is also not optional. So those are all required. All right, so if I were, let's say I had an image. Well, let's do an image here. And I'm not going to use this property, but this would be a binary data object. So you'd select binary data, and you would, over here, you would say allow external storage. Okay, but in this case, I am going to make this optional because I'm not actually going to use this property. But I just wanted to show you how you would set up an image if you wanted an image.
Why are they ordered like that? Age, image, person, why did image go?
It's just putting them in alphabetical. All right, so everyone got that so far? So this visual editor. So we can look at it in this view as well. There's the style button down at the bottom. It allows us, if we had a whole bunch and they were related, it would show the arrows connecting them.
How did you get to that view, sorry?
It's down at the bottom here where it says style. And you can actually edit this right in line. So you can, if you want to change this, you can double click and change it right there. And you can set the attributes using the side panel. So that's possible. All right, so that's our person object. So what we want to do now is we want to just build it. And this will generate some files for us it doesn't visibly add them to the bundle, but they are actually added. So let's actually, I want to just see if they're in the build phases, compiled sources. So yeah, it's just showing that XCData model file there. It doesn't actually show them. I don't think it's shown them there, yeah. But they are there. All right, so what we can do next is we want to import person dot, and this is plus core data class. So that's obviously a category to person. All right. So this is all right. So we can do is do person. So we'll do P1. So this is, if you look at the snippets. I'm sorry?
How did you change the name of entity to person? Just double click and change.
Entity to person, what do you mean?
The new entity?
Yeah, you just double click.
Oh yeah, double click. Or hit enter. Sorry, are people still catching up? Are you caught up?
Yeah, what's the difference between person core data class and person core data model? The one you're
What does that name mean?
So when you imported it, so there's the option, so you can select that, right? And you can see this is a subclass of NSManage object. And it imports this, it imports the data properties so person data properties.h, right? And that is, yeah, so this file, let's see, this file does not import person though, right?
So you would never want to actually just import the properties, right? It shows up there, but
So this is a category on the class, and so if you're to make changes, you would do the changes in the category and not in the class itself.
Is there something you click?
And the reason is because when it gets regenerated, it would just wipe out all your stuff. So you want to make sure that you can see that this is a category to person, right? So basically, like when it gets regenerated, the category itself doesn't get regenerated, but the class will. So if you do any custom stuff in the class, you don't want it inside the class, you want it to do it in the category. And that's the reason why they separate the class from the category.
okay.
But I just imported the class, which imports the category. All right, so everyone with me? Yeah?
Person will pop up for me. That's all. Like change the name.
Did you build? So you have to build. Once you set up the core data model, you got to build so that you see it.
Just Command B.
So
Running with it.
if we do core data, sorry, if I just do snippets and I go to core data and I go to, we're creating a managed object, right? And it says here that we need to do NSEntity description, insert new object for entity for name in managed object context. So this is a way that you can create the managed object, but they've added new syntax since then. So there's just, if you type person, alloc, init, right? You see init with context right there. So you can just do self.context. So that will initialize it into the context. So p1 dot first name is Fred. p1 dot last name is Flintstone. p1 dot age. Let's say he's 80. So let's make 3 of these. So this is just going to insert them into the context, but it doesn't persist them to the data store. So we'll need to save them. So let me just change these all to okay, so let's see. All right, so I guess, so if you wanted to do an image, so it's looking for an NS data there, you can see, right? So you'd have to convert that image to an NS data object. Okay, so just like I did in the, so you're using, like if you're using a JPEG, you use this method, JPEG representation. You can see that this returns an NS data. And if you're using a PNG, uses PNG, I think there's a PNG method. PNG data with actions. Not sure if that's the same method or not. JPEG. Anyway, you need to convert it to NS data, whatever image it is, to persist it. Okay, so now we need to, I think we need to, do we need to add these to the context? I think so. I'm not sure in a manage object context. So
Add these to what?
I'm not sure if we need to add them. We might need to insert object, but I'm not sure.
You just save.
I think I just save it. Yeah. So self save context. Let's try that. All right. So create data. So we've got that create data method. So I'm just going to run it. All right, so let's go and inspect it. So this, we got to refresh. Core data. So you should see that folder there, the SQLite database inside the application support. Let's see. Yes, so it is there. Okay, so you can see that the UI image is just null, right? Because it's an optional. And you see how the core data, like it names these things all weird, like so the table is named zperson, and the primary key is zpk and so on, and zage, right? So they have their own sort of way of doing of setting that up. So it's so they're expecting, I guess. I mean, they could change the way that they store stuff, right? So you should always use the API and not assume, not try to access the SQL directly. All right, so I've just created 3 entities, so I'm just going to comment that out. So next what we're going to do is self basic fetch. Okay.
What did you comment out just to create data?
Hmm?
Did you comment out just to create data?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so basic fetch. Sorry, what's the question?
create data.
How did you view it in the SQL graphics? What file did you open?
So here you got to click on this OpenSim. Click refresh. Make sure it's refreshed, and then you should see your project in the list there, right? I see mine in the list, and I go to Reveal Sandbox and Finder, and then I select Library, Application Support, and you can see it's SQLite is the file right there. It's this file right here.
And then open.
And then just right-click, Control-click, go Open With, and if you don't see it in the list there, you might need to click Other, and then just scroll down to DB Browser. You can click Always Open With if that's the only one you have.
You go to your save context. Please.
Here?
Yeah.
Did you mess up the change? Oh, you know what? If you don't have, you want to make sure that you have this line before the create data. Well, yeah, you do want to make sure of that. It's not saving it?
No, it's a abort.
Abort.
I just have one if block, right? That's all you have in your save data or save context?
Yeah.
But you did the self.context that changes.
Yeah, I have that.
I mean, that method was just there, right? Like that. So,
Yeah.
So what is the, what error are you getting in the console? Because it should be dumping an error in the console. Right, before it hits abort, you see it has this log statement.
Yeah.
What is it saying?
Cocoa error, I mean. Say it says the data is nil for all time.
The data is nil. Oh, I see. So did you import, so you imported the core data class like this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and did you type init with context?
Mhm.
Okay, so just maybe put a breakpoint like here and just see if the context is null.
I just can't seem to find the file. It's
Sorry?
in the same spot. I just built the file, made the stuff. I can't seem to find the list of options.
So one of the things is like if you clear some of these out, then like if you reset your simulator, then you won't have so many to like root through.
Okay. I
Yeah,
thought it was
that's
all-
the. Oh, it's still not showing it. Have you run the application?
Not since the first time when I created the person.
Oh.
Just-
So just comment
Oh,
out.
sorry.
Oh, you
I have to
you
comment.
do have that commented out. It's fine. Let's just run it again and see.
Oh shit. I don't have to comment.
What's happened? Is it no?
It was a stupid. When I was copying my different
Would you call it?
core data to.
Do you see it?
Is it on your iPad?
You guys have to enter a password.
No, it's gotta be there.
Into the database.
So how do you view this?
Try resetting
Oh,
the
So you
simulator.
guys with the DVD
So let's
viewer?
go back to
So you go
go
to
to the
the
simulator
simulator
and
and
reset the simulator.
Do you want to keep that basic?
Computer set like a-
Right.
So like probably
Please enter
the
the key.
whatever simulator.
So go to the simulator. Yeah, switch over to the simulator.
So what is it?
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh,
let's
yeah,
do
no,
here,
no.
everything.
The key register.
See?
Yes,
Reset that.
Oh, sweet.
Try, give it a minute and then try running it again.
Okay.
Did you get it to work?
No, I can't open it.
Application support.
So I go over here.
Actually, you can have that top one, and then open that with the TV.
Yeah, no, always. Oh, okay, now I know. It wasn't mentioned.
Yeah, you just want to show and find or not.
Yeah.
Okay, there. So you just want
So you have to.
Weird.
So we're one.
You click on
So
browse data.
go always show.
It shows your table actually. Scroll just the right, you can see all the items that you have. Like those eight names, right?
Hey.
Okay, so you got it, slot data.
It's still like when Kareem did that, I found it so funny.
Data.
It's like, it's just such an interesting thing to me to be like, make
It's all
fake
people.
names, and like, how
That's
we go around, right? Like, you did
SQL.
weird ones, you did
You got
G's or A's, I did like,
Did you get the
funny names, yeah.
And
We can get the file, the person file and never show.
does it not work?
I just restarted it because when I write the category extensions, and I can figure out why.
And does it work?
What?
No, I just.
Are you saying,
Just
like,
like,
didn't you do Cordelia yesterday?
Yeah, but dude, I had no idea what I was doing. I'm finally understanding it.
What did you do, how did you make it work yesterday?
I didn't make it work. I just copied
Oh,
it.
it's not showing.
It's not showing yet.
It won't let you import
Pasted
it.
it. But in hopes that it would work, but it
And
didn't.
it's no, so you didn't add Cordelia.
No, I mean, I followed along, but I could only get so far.
Yeah.
But now that I'm actually doing this again, because the way he did it with synthesizing instead of making properties.
Yeah. The guy in the, that you were referencing
This
yesterday.
is our current version of Xcode.
The guy that you were referencing yesterday?
Yeah, so Steve
One I've
is
been working
making properties called.
That doesn't answer the question.
Well, I updated it
Because
for
you
the.
might have been looking at a, you might have been looking at a Stack Overflow answer from prior to properties,
Yeah.
and you thought that this is synthesized.
Yeah, and he was synthesizing. Like he made like a synthesized thing. I was like, what is that?
You used to have to do it on your own, and it was very confusing to
Yeah.
like look at it and do that stuff.
Dude, I was up till 2 a.m.
So you're till 2?
Yeah,
I thought you left at like 7:30, you just like walk out like a boss, and then you went home and work for
yeah,
6
dude,
more
I
hours.
was, dude, I don't know, I was like, you know what, I gotta do this, so.
Yeah.
At like 10 p.m. I started it.
Well, I want to take a look at your, how you got the location and what implemented, because that's what I'm working on next.
Okay, I'll try it.
What's that?
Honestly, I
So let's see if
but I'm happy
See,
with
this will probably be
happy about it. Hopefully it'll help me understand it.
Yeah. Sorry. I'll give it a shot later if I have free time after we're done this.
This is really confusing.
So let's see if
It's
if it works actually, 'cause it-
But you know what, this is like the main,
No, it's not.
like if you make an app, this is how you're gonna
Link
make an
your-
app, and you know.
Well, it's like your, it's like how when we make our table view, and we
Yeah.
go, this is our data model.
This is
You're just not gonna make that anymore, you're just gonna make it in the database,
Try to
and then we can import it from there, and then you just like save back and forth.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. That the functionality is actually the same, right? You're just like make the first name list, make the title list.
Or if you're like making a game, there's gonna like track your progress. This how it's gonna do.
Yeah.
Like everything.
You wouldn't have labels and stuff in there.
Yeah.
You'd still be in the cells.
It load from last.
What does this say?
Yeah, that load from last.
I think it's
game.
command failed to execute.
That's where you
It says
all the
duplicate.
characters. and
Duplicate
all.
symbols for Xcode.
Okay, and then it will show,
Are you gonna make a video game for your project? No?
I want to, but I feel like it's gonna be a lot of work.
You can make a game where you like add a name to a database.
Did you guys hear what Alex, the TA, did for his project for his midterm?
Alex, the TA.
Alex,
Yeah, the one that the
I forget his last name.
Matters.
Oh yeah, the color.
Yeah, no, that was his own project. So for his game, and it's a little sketchy, especially with your history as of yesterday.
Okay.
But it was a game that uses the phone's like gyroscope, and it was basically you got points based on how high you threw your phone. Because it measured like so like you broke your phone yesterday, so that's kind of funny. Yeah, basically.
I won the game.
It checks the four.
phone.
You win $100 for a new screen.
That's so scary.
Did you want me to just flip you
But I guess it's pretty.
this method?
Okay, UI is probably really simple, right? It's like one screen with a score. And it's
You're
like
okay?
pro
You want me to? I can flip you this,
And
and then you can just stick it in and run. Yeah.
But maybe you can make like similarities, or you can make one that like you hold the phone in your hand and you like do a golf swing, and it like checks like your swing speed based on.
That's actually really cool. I was thinking about it for baseball, but
Yeah, same thing. You can just like.
have to do with bones in motions.
All you need is some duct tape. You just like, tape it to your hand.
All right. So let's get back to it here. So I've commented this out now, the create data method. So I don't want to keep that to keep running. So I'm doing the basic fetch next. All right. So what we want is, if we look at NS managed object context, we want to execute a fetch request. So this is the method here that we want, and you can see that it returns an NS array. So let's just copy this method, and I'll just paste it up here. So this is a good way to kind of try to learn like the documentation and how it works, right? So you can see that this is an instance method, and it's calling it on the instance of the context, right? So it's going to be self.context execute fetch request. So you can see that there's two of them there, and we want the one that returns the NS array. Okay? So this is going to be returning an NS array, and this is going to be an array of person, and we'll call it persons. And it needs an NS fetch request. All right, so we need to create one of those. So let's do NS fetch request. So we're going to use this convenience method here, fetch request with entity name. So NS fetch request, call this request, NS fetch request, fetch request with entity name, and the entity name is person. All right, so we can just pass in that request. And then this is inspecting an NS error. We're just going to pass in nil. So what I want to do here is, I guess maybe what I'll do is I'll make a method that's going to log out the results. So I'm going to pass it an array, and it's going to loop through it, because we're probably going to want to do this a few times. So I'll call it print result. Print results from array, I guess. NS array. This is going to be an array of person object. All right, so I'm going to do a for in loop person. And we're just going to NS log this. So Fred Flintstone is X years old. So person dot first name, person dot last name, and person age. So let's make this into an NS number. Makes it easier to log out. All right, so let's just call this self print results from array and then just pass it in persons. Okay, so that's just a little convenience method so that we can pass an array of persons and it'll log them out for us so we don't have to keep writing that code over and over.
So I can just show the print results from array ones.
This method?
Yeah, I was just asking.
It's just a for in loop. All right, so let's run this. So I'm just going to shrink, I'm just going to fold the code we're not using. So I'm just going to fold that away. And we're calling the basic fetch. So that should.
Basic fetch.
Oops.
Oh, check that one.
How do you fold?
And left arrow.
You should.
You don't have to click on the ribbon.
Yeah, but you have to have the ribbon enabled. So if you go, some people don't have it enabled. If you go to edit, make sure code folding ribbon is enabled. And then you can just click on the ribbon at the side here and fold it.
I don't even think you have to have a highlighter to do that. Yeah, you just like have your cursor anywhere in the function, like anywhere within it, and you just do it.
You can
Same thing
fold
with
the
the
whole
whole
thing like a shift.
Okay, so you can see my results there, as you would expect.
Really? Oh. Oh. Well played, sir.
All right, so let's do a couple more fetches. And everyone able to get this?
So it's logging.
Let me just wait I'll just actually have to go to the washroom quickly, so I'll be back in 1 second.
Well, I guess we can talk about it. So that's logging stuff out because regardless of whether it's running procedurally in the app at one point ran and saved to the database, and like that's just the whole point of core data, right? Like we created those people and we saved them, and even though we're not creating them again on this run, it's like it is saved. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like it is saved, and they will just like live there forever until you delete them or modify them. Cool.
Except it's interesting that the order is different.
The order that you wrote them in?
Yeah.
35, 28, 68, totally.
Yours too?
Mine is printing a few times. That's all.
Maybe it's in alphabetical order?
Maybe put it in.
Should be reverse alphabetical, who's 35 T now? No, that's not it.
So what? So the table, the core data table, is that a dictionary? Not anything like a dictionary.
No, it's a SQL database.
Okay, so when you're retrieving stuff from SQL, how come the order in which you retrieve it is not the same in which you saved it?
We haven't sorted it, so I think it's probably showing in the order it was inserted. Is that what's happening?
Mine doesn't have any
Yeah.
special.
Let's see. Yeah, mine doesn't have any special order either.
Probably just the data structure doesn't use.
Yeah, it's some sort of
It's not an
optimization.
array, it's likely some kind of tree, and then it'll just
Yeah.
store it where it's most efficient to get things.
Yeah, it's probably some sort of underlying
B tree.
algorithm or something that they're using. Yeah, who knows? But so in other words, you can't rely on the order. So we're gonna do that next. Let's do a fetch with let's fetch it with an order. So let's do a fetch with a sort. All right, so that will be the next one. Let's do a fetch with sort, I guess is fine. Okay, so we could just make sure we're calling that up here. So self paste. All right, so this is again very simple. We're going to do self.context, and then we're going to do execute fetch request, and then this is all about changing the fetch request itself. So ns fetch request. So ns fetch request. I think it was fetch request with entity name person. And then this is going to be request dot sort descriptors. Okay, so this is, if we look at ns fetch request and we look at sort descriptors, this is a property, and you can see it's an array of ns sort descriptors. So
Sort descriptor enum?
no, this is an object. So let's look at that. So ns sort descriptor. So here we can do a sort descriptor with key. So this is you can see that this is a class initializer. Sort descriptor with key ascending. So it just takes a key. So it knows what entity we're talking to, a person, right? So it's just using key value coding. So we need to just give it a key that corresponds to the property. So in this case, we could say, so we need the line before, so ns sort descriptor. Let's do age descriptor. Ns sort descriptor with key, and we could just pass it age, and ascending, let's just make it no. So this would put Fred Flintstone first, then Iggy Pop, and then the other one. All right, so we have to just add this onto, this wants an array of sort descriptors, so notice we can have many of them. So they're gonna, obviously, the order we put them in could affect the result.
What's the comparative?
So age descriptor. Sorry, what was the question?
The last one, after ascending, I can't really see it.
It's just ascending, that's it. It's request.sortDescriptors is the property. So this is creating a sort descriptor in the line before. And then this is a property on the request, which is a list of these things. And we're just passing one into the list. We could have others. So if it's going to sort by, age and then name, so there's going to be different kinds of results depending on how many descriptors we have. Okay, so again, we just pass the request, and then we're passing nil in for this. And then we're going to do self print results. And this is, we better grab this to an array. Result. All right, so this is going to be a person result. Okay, so I'm just going to pass in results. So notice all we did was we just modified the request. So the same thing we will do with a filter. I'll run it. Okay, so you see the order has now changed. And we could change this to last name. And run it again. All right, so we can see it's in descending order. So Wart, Pop, and then Flintstone. Okay, so that's fetch with sort. And we need to do a fetch with a filter.
So why is, for age, you said ascending no?
Mm-hmm. So that would put the oldest first.
Mine is youngest first.
You don't have with Oh, I would do.
Are you using key?
Sort descriptor with P, H.
Okay, and ascending no.
Proposed out sort descriptors, array with H descriptor.
Are you sure that you're calling when you call the print method, are you passing, did you create the print method? I'm concerned that you're printing the old stuff there.
Calling it that.
So make sure you're not calling the other,
Are you
the
calling,
basic search.
Did you update the finish launching to call this method and not the old one? Are you calling?
Yeah, are you calling the method?
Yeah, go up to the top.
Oh, shit.
Yes. Always helps when you call it. That's why when I wrote it, I immediately went up and called it so that I wouldn't forget, because it's like.
Dope.
It's like
Swift cutie out of here.
the thing is, that's really resonated with you guys.
That was like, yeah, he has like
The Swift
add
kitty.
kitty onto the end of anything.
That's true. Yeah, JavaScript kitty.
And when kitty's out there. Yeah.
The thing is that it's interesting that you notice how like you had this age and then ascending no, right? And then it was doing it in the wrong order, but the mind jumps to the idea that, oh, there's something wrong with this method instead of there's something wrong with the way I'm calling it. Do you notice that? It's weird, eh? Like when it's like so obviously it can't be that method. Like I don't know, that's sort of like something in debugging where you have to kind of train your mind to not go down the ridiculous path and pick the path that's, that makes more sense. It's like,
I found that.
do you know what I mean?
I found that like to try and avoid errors, like what happened there is before I would always be like, all right, I'm gonna write this method. It's like I want to finish this whole method and then I'm gonna go and connect the pieces. And now I try to do like, all right, well this is gonna need that segue identifier. Go check the segue identifier, come back, and like that's,
Yeah, that's a good.
I try to like it feels disjointed and I don't know.
Yeah, you want to test things as soon as possible because
It's like if
you
you're-
just assume you're writing bugs and proceed accordingly. Assume you're writing bugs and you're writing for Apollo, whatever.
Oh yeah, that's my next step. Boot camp, then next Facebook, and then space missions.
All right, so void. So let's do fetch with filter, and let's go right up and call it and comment out this method. So fetch with filter. All right, so same idea. So self.context, execute fetch request. So I'll just pass in null for the error. And just let's make that request. So request with person. And then
It's always going to be an array person.
it will be, yeah, even if only one or none gets returned. And if it's, I mean, you can do you can do a sorted. You can get an NS sorted set. But anyways, so let's look at NS fetch request again. So what we want here is we want to set a predicate, and there's a whole predicate programming language for setting predicates. So if you want to do filters and stuff, there's this whole NS predicate thing. So
Do you use those a lot?
well, you are going to use them in any kind of filtering, or like if you want to filter arrays, things like that, you can filter them using a predicate. In Swift, you're more likely to use filter, the filter method. But yeah, it's pretty useful, and you definitely are going to use it in core data. So we need to create an NS predicate. So let's look at the NSPredicate method. So we're going to tack a predicate now onto this NSFetch request. So you can see that we can do predicate with format, which is, this basically takes a string format. So this is going to be like a string expression that is going to be what we would like this request to filter by. Okay, so we're going to do request dot predicate equals, and then we need an NS predicate. NS predicate with format. So this is just a string expression here, so obviously error prone. So let's do, I don't know, let's do age greater than 70. So that will just get Fred Flintstone. So predicate, and that expression will return an array again. So NS array of person objects.
So for predicate, can you go as far as being like age greater than 50 space, like and you can
Yep.
do all of that in string format?
Yep, you can add all kinds of stuff in there, and there's different like so like equals, like the assignment operator is the equals, but I think you can use double equals. They have all the rules spelled out in their documentation on how to do this. But this is pretty typical. Most languages have this kind of predicate language. It's pretty common. All right, so print results. Sorry, self. Print results persons. So I should just have one result. And indeed I do. Fred Flintstone is the only one that's over 70. I can do greater than or equal to 70, and that should print out Iggy Pop and Fred Flintstone. I think Iggy was 70, right? Yeah. So Iggy is 70. It's probably about right.
I'd say even older.
Probably, yeah.
70.
Looks great, though.
76.
Yeah, he looks great.
70.
Oh, wow. That was like, wow, that was like, that was right off the top of my head. I was just completely gut intuition. All right, so we have done some fetches. So those are the main ones. Pretty simple. So now what we need to do is, we have done create, we have done read, we need to do update. So let's do update. So void, let's do update.
Can I see the code for fetch with filter after? No, not now.
It's right there.
I think now's a good time to ask me.
What's that?
It's time to ask your question. Will we get code for this later?
I'm actually recording it, so
Oh, it's recorded?
I'm recording
Sure,
it.
sure.
You want
So
that
That
MP4
was-
as well?
That was on the money.
You get the video too.
okay, so let's do update persons. So what we might want to do is we might want to do a filtered fetch. So let's do that one that where it's greater than 70 and we only get Fred Flintstone, and let's make his age, let's increment his age by 1. So I'm just going to do NS array person Fred. Let me see. So this is actually Fred. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna do person Fred, and then self fetch with filter, and that's gonna return an array. So I'm just gonna get the first element. And what's the problem? Oh, I'm missing a bracket. No. So this, oh, because it's returning void, that's why. So I need to change this to return in this array.
This bedroom closer one?
Yeah. So I need to change that and just return return persons. Okay, so that's fine. That was just returning void, so it'll be a little hard to get to try to use the results of that method. All right, so we have Fred now, so we can do Fred dot age equals
I was typing Fred and mine. Like, why is there no age?
81. So Fred got had a birthday. So now all we need to do is do self save context. All right, so I'm going to do it like this, and then we'll just inspect it in the. Did I call it?
Oops.
No, I did not call it.
What context?
Hang on, I didn't call it. Right.
Whoa, what happened there?
Update persons. There we go.
I got this huge system log that popped up.
Okay, so we're just going to see actually that Fred logged out there, 81 years old. But if we go to our core data object, so actually I already have it loaded, so I'll just go over there and refresh, and you can see that.
Refresh on OpenSim?
Yeah, you do. I think you have to refresh. So you can see 81 there. Oh, no, in OpenSim, no, you shouldn't have to.
Do you have to go to OpenSim every time?
No, you can just go straight to the core data.
Where's refresh on the DB browser?
Right there, there's that button. Are you in the Browse Data tab?
Yeah.
Browse Data, and then right by the person entity.
Oh wow.
You should be able to refresh.
69.
So
Come out.
Okay, so that is update. So update is simple. You just get but you have to get a reference to the entity you're talking to, and then you change your property and save the context.
Can you put up the fetch with filter?
return persons. Got that.
I don't know why my database has like 9 people in it.
Because you keep calling the same method again.
You can't create data.
I don't know.
You keep hitting call create data. That's why I commented it out so it doesn't
It's
do
too late
that.
now. It's there.
I think you can delete the entities from that database manager.
Wait, oh,
I should.
So fetch with filter.
Okay, so update. So we're missing one method, delete, which is like so by fetching this entity. So we're going to do the fetch filter again and get Fred, and we're going to delete Fred. So.
Can you just hold your horse from
It should still say the old name. It's not going to show the old name in your log because you're logging the old name.
Say that again?
Like here, were you concerned because it was showing the
No,
same
no.
old name?
What, how does it
No,
return? Oh, it.
What was that?
All right, so
Index, beyond bounds.
I'm going to make a new method called self-delete. Delete person.
Well, the only place that you're calling the right there, that is fetch with filter 0. That's the only place that you're actually calling that. Yes, fetch with filter. So go up.
So it says
Fetch filters here.
so you return it in all array for some reason.
You're returning a null array
Do
from
you have
that?
any people under 20?
Oh, maybe it did update.
Oh, you have no one under 20.
It
You have no one under 20.
It did
no
up,
results.
okay, it did update you to 16 before.
Alright, so yeah, so you're just crashing because you gotta change your.
It worked.
If you go down, you should update that or else it's gonna crash every time.
All right, so just make sure you comment out update persons and create a new method called delete person. All right, so let's get a hold of that person we want to delete first. So that's going to be Fred. So that's the easiest because we can just call self fetch with filter and get Fred. And then if we call the context self.context, delete object. Fred.
That's right.
Self save context. So you just do something to the context and then you save it. So you could do a whole bunch of stuff to the context and then save it. All right. So let's make sure I'm calling it delete person and I am. Run it.
So in the example where we had a really huge database and we wanted to fetch, like we got whatever.
Okay, so Fred is deleted.
You can probably limit the number.
Yes.
I'm just saying, like here we know that
Well,
Fred is the only item, and that's
oh yeah, so there is delete objects as well.
yeah.
So you can just have an array of objects and give it the array of objects.
Update.
But you may want to filter or whatever further. But anyway, so that is CRUD as basic CRUD in CoreData using what was a little bit more than CRUD, right? Because I did also different kinds of fetches using a filter and using a sort and a filter, right? So you could do combine sort and filter, right? So it's just the fetch request has like a predicate property or a sort descriptor property. And so that's, you just make that request itself more nuanced and then it will return like a different set of data for you.
And you can stick any kind of object in the database, and depending on how you click to store externally.
Yeah, so any type of data that's supported in the list of attributes there, you see that there's different integer attributes and different, so I think like if you want to store an integer value like a float, I think you have to store it as a double, right? Let's just
In case
confirm
in
that.
an objects in the database, or
So you can put a double there. Oh, there is actually float as well, so double float. Sorry?
can you store them as objects in the database?
Yeah, so you can make, let's see, I guess undefined, there's, there used to be, yeah, I guess if you're going to store an integer and you have an NS number, you might want to convert it. I don't know, there used to be a thing in prior versions where you could just specify that all your integers were NS number values instead. Okay, well, I wanted to do just how to join this all up and make it into a project, but I don't know, it's almost noon, so should we do a breakout later? Well, actually, you're going to need this for today's project, kind of.
Need the next.
Well,
or
the
need-
stuff, like how to connect it up and everything,
Yeah,
you're going
let's
to
do it.
kind of need it.
Yeah,
Do you want to take 5 minutes?
that's
Get a coffee or something?
yeah.
Actually, maybe I would get a coffee myself. Like a real one. Does anyone want to come over? Quantum?
I'm good. I think we're well.
No?
Too lazy.
I need some serious caffeine.
I drink hot chocolate. Where are you going?
And 3 hours
I'm going to Quantum.
Quantum?
Yeah.
What's so good about that place?
Well, it's
the go-to coffee.
good.
It's good?
Well, it's like caffeinated. Good. Should have paused it.
It's still pretty.
Yeah.
We can edit
I should have paused. That's true. Yeah.
Awkward.
That's true. I'll have to like study that section. So yeah, I'm just commenting all those methods out, and I'll just leave the code the way it was, so that I'll post this code anyway, so you have it. All right. So let's get moving. Maybe what I'll do is I could sort of make this project the view of the project if you want, and then if you can't keep up, I'll send the view part out before I start the core data so that everyone has the project. Well, if you need it.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to drag out a view controller.
Just do that. You just look for it there.
And I'm just going to embed this thing in nav controller. All right.
What's that dude's name? He's like the happiest guy I love him.
All right. So, oh, I know.
You're gonna embed it in navigation?
Yeah. So UI bar button.
You kind of feel it. Like now we know each other, but we can't like.
Oh, sorry. I want this to be add, and
Is this
No, no.
the same project?
Yeah. He's just
I-
gonna. He's gonna send.
I'll send you the view files in a sec. Okay. Let me just quickly run through this. So I need this. There's a bug in Xcode, so I need to add this actually here, so that I just want to put a UI bar button item here, and if I don't add this title item thing, it disappears.
Sorry, can you show me how you fix that? Because I was having that problem last night and I didn't know how to.
If you type here item and see where it has this navigation item, and
Yeah.
you drag that and you drop it on top of that.
Oh,
second
you're
view.
joking. Because I was trying to add a bar and it doesn't look the same. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how you fix it anyway. And so item, so I want to just change this to save button. All right, so the other thing I need a UI text fields here. So I'm just going to drag that out and just make it a little bigger. Paste. So I'm just going to paste 4 of them in like that. I'm going to drop them in the stack view.
You got 3 there?
3, I mean. Okay, so 0, 0. I think, I guess 30 is fine. And then the height of it, I'm going to set to 120. I better set that constraint there. All right, so I just need to, I think it's equal space. Yeah. Okay, and just change the background color to like light gray. All right, so I'm going to change this placeholder text to first name. And placeholder age. Okay, and just going to hook this stuff up. So it's not going, so I think we need to set the class to controller. Okay, so first name text field.
Is the t-shirt what I said?
Oh, it's gorgeous out. Okay, so I need the save method. Just change that. I don't even really need the parameter, but. All right, so let's run it and see, make sure everything works. Put a breakpoint there. All right, so it's working.
There's a juice at this place, Quantum. $13. Is that it?
Where did it
Yeah.
Smoothies across the street at the same price. It's like cups of smoothies this big.
All right, so I'm just putting a table view in here. Let's see.
You got that part paper from them?
You're trying to put it in the bar?
No, I'm trying to just put it in this view controller. Anyway, let me just pin it around. 0. Okay. Oh, that's weird. Something went weird. That's strange. Let's see if it looks okay. Did I stretch out the right? Oh, I did. Maybe if I switch files, sometimes it. There it goes.
Yeah, mine was looking fine. I got on touch to go into the ones.
Okay, so I need one prototype cell.
Self-motions.
Yeah.
All right, so I have one prototype cell, and I'm just going to set the prototype cell. So I'm going to set the reuse identifier to cell, and also I'm going to set the cell type to, let's see, what is it, folks? Custom. Yeah, I want the right detail cell. Yeah, that's good. All right. So I'm not going to use a custom cell or anything, and I'm just, so I just need the, oh, did I set the, I think I made the class. Did I make the view controller?
You set the view controller to view controller.
I think you set the table view to.
Yeah, so I set, the view controller is actually the second view, so that's the detail view, so let me change that. So this guy is the view controller, so I need another view controller. So main UI view. So main view controller. And let's just make this first view controller the main view controller. All right. Okay. Main view controller. So let's get a reference to the table view here. And let's connect up the data source and make sure that we conform to the data source. All right, so I guess I can send this out now, right? Is this? I think it should be working this. I guess it's probably going to crash because of the data source. Yeah, that's fine. All right, so you should be able to download that project. And we can just pick up where we left off there. So we want, let's move the main view controller up. So this is going to be the table view itself. So let's load our data here. So we're going to do an import person. And we want a property non-atomic, and this is going to be an NS array of person. All right, so we need to just do a basic fetch.
So this is in
I'm in main view controller.
main view controller.
So I need to import core data. And I need a reference to the context. So I'm going to need to also import the app delegate. So, and yeah, I'm going to need a reference here to the context. And the way that I do this is I can do self.context equals UI application, shared application, and delegate. Okay, so I need to actually cast this to the app delegate. And then I can do dot persistent. I should have the persistent container. I don't know why.
You have an extra bracket after the.
Shared. I think there's an extra bracket. Shared application delegate is there. Right there is the problem. So dot persistent container dot view context. So that's getting me a reference to the context. I actually kind of need a reference to the I kind of need a reference to the app delegate anyway, but this should be weak.
Why do you need that?
Because I'm going to call save.
You don't want to make the save function yet?
Yeah, I'm just being lazy. I'm showing you the lazy man's way. So let's do it like this. Let's get this part.
Sorry, that.
Self.delegate equals this thing. Okay, so, and then we can do self.delegate. Okay, so now we have a reference to the delegate and the context. So what we want to do is populate the persons array. So we need to do a fetch. So if we do self.context, execute fetch request. So then we need that fetch request. So ns fetch request equals ns fetch request with person. So pass in request. Error is null. I don't know. We might want to sort this thing, but anyways, I'm not going to sort it. Okay, so this
Set up our delegate already? Our view controller delegate?
we I control dragged. Maybe actually maybe let me just see because I think I did that in the old one. It says it's connected.
So app delegate, do I have to build? I have to get build. Geez, I just.
So I can get rid of. Actually, I'm going to delete that delegate and just reconnect
You don't
it
have a delegate called
because I thought I connected the delegate when I had the old class. So I don't know. There could be that could screw it up. So self.persons equals. Okay, so that's going to fetch all the persons. So now I can go ahead and do the data source methods. So I'm just going to. I've command clicked on the data source. I'm just going to copy this over. This is a lazy way. I'm just going to return self.persons count. And this view cell. Sorry. EQ usable self identifier, and then the identifier was just self. So I need the data for this index path. So self.persons index path.row, and that's going to give us a person object. And then I'm going to do cell let's see, text label.text equals person last name. Cell dot detail text label dot text equals person first name. Return cell. All right, so let me run that. We should see some data. And we don't. Let's see what could be the problem. No, it's I'm assigning to the array. So I didn't call the fetch persons. Oh, I did call fetch persons. I see the problem. So context is null because I'm doing this after fetch persons, which relies on the context. All right, so we got our two pieces of data. So we want to now be able to add some data, and when we hit the save button, it's going to save it. Okay, so that's in view controller, so that's in the save method. So this is pretty easy here. String, so let's do first name equals self.firstname.text, and then duplicate this. Oops. Last name, self.last name.text. And then we want this to be, remember this was an int 16t, so age, self.age dot text, and we want this to be the integer value, which we can make it an int value. And then we want to cast this to 16T. All right, so we need to create a person object. Well, we need to import person. So import person, and we also need to import core data. So obviously you're not going to want to be doing this all in your view controllers. So I'm doing it just for speed here. So person alloc. So init.
What don't we want to do here?
Exactly what he's doing right now. Basically saying like make a core data manager person, so you'll have a manager person in the view controller,
Yeah,
and
so
that person will hold the
I mean, right away here, you can see that this kind of sucks because now I'm going to get a reference again to this. You know, I'm going to copy all that code, getting a reference to the delegate and getting a reference to the context. So let's do like this. Let's import into. Well, actually, sorry about that. We should just import core data into the header, and then so this is the other way. So property non-atomic. So ns managed object context, and then property non-atomic, and this should be weak, and this could be the so at some class the app delegate, import the app delegate. Okay, so I'm going to pass a reference to the context and delegate in the this main view controller. So to do that, I'm going to need see, there's kind of no easy way, but I'm going to need prepare for segue, and then I need to import main view controller, and then I need a reference to main view controller. So I'm not going to change. I'm not going to check for the segue identifier because I only have one segue. So dot destination view controller is this main view controller. So MVC dot context equals self dot context, and MVC dot delegate equals self dot delegate. All right, so that saves me having to set all that up, right? So now I can do self.person, self.context. So that creates the person in the context, and then I need to do person.firstname equals firstname, person.lastname equals lastname, person.age. Oops. All right, so it's inserted, and I've assigned all the properties, so I just need to do self.delegate, save context, and that's it for that. Now the problem is when I come back into the main view controller, if I create the data, if I create new data objects and I come back into the main view controller, I'm not going to see the new data. Why?
Does it fetch the data?
Yes, so I will have to fetch the new data. So the problem is like I'm kicking off fetch from the problem is I'm kicking off fetch from view did load.
That's only happening the very first time.
Exactly. So I need to do it in view will appear. So view will appear. Super view will appear animated. So I need to move this call to here. And I'm also going to have to call self.tableView reload data, because if I don't reload the data when I come back, the table view will not know about the change. Now, there's a better way to do this, and that is that what I should do is I can, this view controller, the context, so NS managed object context, so notice these notification methods right here, where it says NS managed object context object did change notification,
Yeah.
and NS managed object context did save notification or will save notification. So these two methods, I can assign myself as an observer.
The notification center for those guys?
Yes, and then that way, because this view controller is on the stack, right? So it can actually reload the data when the save occurs. And then by the time it gets back there, the data will be reloaded. So that's better than reloading it every time in view will appear. because I might not have changed the data and then I'm reloading the data. So anyway, so that's a great way to react to changes to the database is using these notifications. So user info key. Yeah, anyway, that's built into the fetch results controller. So maybe I'll talk a little bit about the fetch results controller in a sec.
Maybe we will need to break it.
Yeah.
I'm starving.
Don't do it with the fetch results controller then.
It's already one almost.
All right.
Already won?
Almost nothing.
Okay, so let's add Fred back again. Oh, let's make it frog. And let's say he's 12. Okay, so I didn't zero out the data, but you can see it's there now, right?
Did you just hit save and then hit back? It doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't-
yeah, I didn't
Oh,
set
okay.
that up yet.
Okay.
But so there you go. That's so we can do another one. Okay, so it's just adding it to the end of the
So you're
list.
saving from the database, going back, touching the new one, reloading it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so I just wanted to show how everything gets hooked up because if I just do it in the app delegate, then when you have to do your assignment today, you're going to be like, "What? How do I get the context?" All right, so